In this video, we're going to be covering the second section of the Salesforce Administrator exam, the Object Manager and Lightning App Builder section. I'm going to show you what you need to know to pass the admin exam. Hello and welcome. My name is Dave Massey, the Salesforce training guy, and I'm the founder of Salesforce Certified. In this video, we're going to take a deep dive into the second section of the Salesforce Administrator exam. That is the Object Manager and Lightning App Builder section. This is a really important section that's worth 20% of your overall score, so you need to be really comfortable with it. There are three objectives that we need to cover. 1. Describe the standard object architecture and relationship model, for example, standard object, parent-child, master detail, lookup, junction relationships, and record types. 2. Explain how to create, delete, and customize fields and page layouts on the standard and custom objects, and know the implications of deleting fields. And 3. Given a scenario, determine how to create and assign page layouts, record types, and business processes for custom and standard objects. So let's dive into the first one. Describe the standard object architecture and relationship model. Now this objective sounds quite fancy, and that's just because Salesforce has used the terms architecture and relationship model. But it's actually quite simple. When we talk about architecture and relationships in Salesforce, we're just referring to the structure of our org and the relationships between different objects. So how our objects and records are related and linked to each other. The quickest way for me to show you this is to actually show you the standard object architecture and relationship model through Schema Builder. So we're going to head to Setup, and then we're going to go across to the Object Manager here. Now remember, you'll be using the Object Manager a lot during your Salesforce career, as this is where you're going to be carrying out any object customizations such as fields, relationships, page layouts, and much more. From here, we're going to go across to Schema Builder, and we're just going to open it up. Now, Schema Builder is a fantastic tool for being able to visualize how everything is structured and linked. Now, the Schema Builder can be a little bit overwhelming when every object is on the page. So what we're going to do is we're just going to clear all of our objects there, and then we're going to add them one by one. So let's start with the most common ones. So we're going to add account, we're going to add case, I'm going to add campaign as well. What we'll do is we'll add contact, we're going to add lead, and then we'll also add opportunity as well. And then we can just hit auto layout and Schema Builder will lay that out for us. Now I'm just going to zoom out here because it's put it in random places and we want this easier to see. So let's just rearrange them. I'm going to put account at the center. I'm going to move lead over here to the top left. We'll put campaign there. What we'll then do is we'll have opportunity, we'll have contact over here, and then we can have case there. So let me just scroll up there, and now we can see all of the objects that we want to talk about. Now, what I want you to note here is that there are lines that are connecting each of these objects, and these are relationship fields, and they link the objects together. So we can see how the account object is linked to multiple other objects. It's linked to pretty much every single one apart from lead and campaign. What you may have noticed is that the lines that connect them have two different ends. They have one end which splits off into multiple points, and then we have a single connection on the other side. Now this is because relationships in Salesforce are one-to-many. So one account could have many contacts, one account could have many opportunities, and one account can have many cases. The side that has the single connection is the parent, and the one with the multiple connections is the child. A parent may have multiple children, hence the multiple connections. So we can see that the account is the parent, the opportunity is the child. What you'll also see is that there are two different colors for these lines. We have blue lines and we have red lines. This tells us the type of relationship it is. If it is blue, then it's a lookup relationship. If it is red, then it's a master detail relationship. One of the easiest ways to remember the difference between lookup relationships and master detail relationships is that lookup relationships are loose relationships, whereas master detail are close relationships. Lookup relationships allow you to relate object records to each other in a loose relationship. It means that you can have a child record without the need for a parent record. For example, if we take a look at the opportunity object, you'll see that it has a lookup relationship to the account object. The line is blue. This means that we can create an opportunity without the need for account. So if we go to the front of Salesforce and we just go to opportunities and we create a new opportunity, you'll see that that isn't a required field. Account name isn't required. So we don't actually need an account record to create an opportunity. Now, if we did this, this opportunity record would be known as an orphan record because it has no parent record. Now, master detail relationships, on the other hand, are much closer, and a child record can only exist if it is related to a parent record. You cannot have a child record without a parent record in a master detail relationship. One big implication of master detail is that when the parent record is deleted, so are all of the child records too. Now, I'm going to caveat that with the fact that some lookup relationships have what is known as the cascade delete feature. For example, if you delete an account, all of its linked opportunities will be deleted too. And the same is true for its contacts and its cases. So just make sure that you are aware of those exceptions. But there are a few other points that you need to know as well. Lookup relationships provide the child record with its own independent sharing and security, which means that it can have a different owner from the parent record. With master detail relationships, the child record inherits the sharing and security from its parent record, which means that whoever owns the parent owns the child. On lookup relationships, you cannot have a roll-up summary, but you can on master detail relationships. And a standard object can be on the child side of a parent-child relationship with lookup relationships, but for master detail relationships, it must always be on the parent side. Make sure you understand the differences between lookup relationships and master detail relationships, because it will be on your exam. There are actually 6 types of relationships that you need to know for your admin exam. We've already talked about lookup relationships and master detail relationships, but you also need to know about self-relationships, hierarchical relationships, external relationships, and many-to-many relationships. So self-relationships are just lookup relationships that look up to the same object. So you could have a lookup relationship on the campaign object like we have here, which actually looks up to other campaign records. So if we scroll down here, you'll see that we have parent campaign here. Now this is really useful if you was to have a global marketing campaign that consisted of TV ads, newspaper ads, social media ads, and Google ads. You could record each of these campaigns separately, but you could have them related to the global marketing campaign so you can track them easier. Hierarchical relationships are just like self-relationships, except that they're on the user object. They allow you to create a hierarchy of users, and you've probably seen the manager field on the user object. That is a hierarchical relationship. Then we have external relationships. These are used whenever you are working with external objects, and they come in 2 flavors. You can have indirect lookup relationships and external lookup relationships. Indirect lookup relationships link an external object to a standard or custom object in Salesforce. It works similar to a lookup relationship, but it's used specifically to associate an external object with a Salesforce object. An external lookup relationship is the opposite of an indirect lookup. It links a standard or custom object in Salesforce to an external object. And then finally, we have many-to-many relationships. This is how you would link multiple records to other multiple records through the use of a junction object. For example, if we're running a school and we have multiple classes and multiple students, each class can have multiple students and each student will have multiple lessons. You would need to create a junction object called class enrollments to link both of them together. So let's create a many-to-many relationship so you can actually see it in action. Now, while we could create custom objects on the Schema Builder, it can be a little bit faffy to do. There's a couple of things that mean you have to start diving in and out of Object Manager, such as any field that you add through the Schema Builder isn't automatically added to the object's page layout. It's just easier to build everything using Object Manager to begin with, but please make sure that you're aware of the limitations with Schema Builder. So we're going to head back to Object Manager and we're going to create a new custom object. So we'll go to Create, Custom Object, and we're going to call this one Class. For the plural, we're going to call this Classes. And we're going to leave everything as it is now, and then we'll just launch New Custom Tab Wizard after saving this custom object. We'll hit Save in New. Then for the next object, we're going to call this one student. So what we've got here is we have one object that is going to record students and one object that's going to record classes. Again, we'll put launch new custom tab wizard after saving this custom object, and we're going to create a new one because we need to create another custom object that's going to be our junction object. It's going to be the one that connects class and students in a many-to-many relationship. And we're going to call this one class enrollments. So class enrollments. The plural label is going to be the same as well. And then we're going to go down here and we're going to launch the new custom tab wizard as well. But I'm just going to change this to auto number here. And I'm just going to put this as CE, and then we'll just put in a couple of zeros as well. So we'll have it like that. Perfect. And starting number, we'll just put as 1. So I'll just put an extra 0 in there. Okay, perfect. So if we hit save, what we're now going to do is actually start creating the tabs. So for the class enrollments, we're just going to keep it nice and simple. We'll just have the aeroplane there. We'll hit next. We want to make sure that everybody can see this tab. Again, you can customize this however you want depending on what you're creating. We're going to include the tab. We'll hit save. And now what we need to do is go and create the tabs for the other ones. So we're just going to go back to home here. We're going to go to the quick find. We'll search for tabs, which is under user interface. And we're going to create some new custom object tabs. So we'll hit new here. For the object, we want class. Tab style, we're just going to set as the alarm clock. We'll hit next again. Again, we're going to leave this so it's available for everyone so everyone can see it. And then we're going to create one last one, which is going to be for students. So again, we'll just select that. We'll go for the apple this time. We'll hit next. We're leaving everything as it is. And we'll scroll down and we'll hit save. So now that we've actually set this up, let's go and have a look at what we need to do. So we've got our custom objects here, but we actually need to make sure that class enrollments is going to work as a junction object. So to do that, we're going to go back to Object Manager. We're going to go to the quick find here. We're going to find class because we know it's class enrollments, and we're going to open that up. Now, to actually set this object up to function how we want it to, we need to head to Fields and Relationships, and we need to create a couple of new fields. We want to create a couple of master detail relationship fields, which are then going to link to the class itself and to the students. So we'll click New Field, we'll go to Master Detail, we'll hit Next, and then we're going to find what it's related to, and we know we want this to be related to class, so we'll add class in there. We'll hit next, and we're just going to leave all these settings as default. So we're not going to customize these because, again, I just want to demo to you how a junction object works. So we're just going through these, and we're going to save in new because we want another field. Again, it's master detail. We'll hit next again. Then we want it related to students. So we'll find student, we'll hit next. Again, we're just going to leave everything as default. We'll hit next again, and then next again. And we'll just save that as well. So now that we've actually created them, let's go and see how this works in Salesforce. We'll head back to our front end of Salesforce here, and I'm just going to refresh my page just so it's going to show the new objects. So you can see we have our new objects here. So let's create a couple of classes. We're going to create one which is going to be called the Admin Academy. And then we're also going to create another one which is going to be called Flow Masterclass. And we'll save them. And now let's create our students. So we'll create a new student. This one is going to be David M. And we'll create another one, which is going to be Kaylee M. And let's create another one, which we'll just put as James M. And we can hit save there. Perfect. So how are we going to link all these together? How are we going to link classes to students? Well, that's where enrollments come in, class enrollments. So if we go to our related list here, you can see that James isn't enrolled to any classes. But if we hit new, we can actually search the classes, so we can enroll James into the Admin Academy, and we can also enroll him into the Masterclass as well, so we can hit save there. So let's do that for our other students as well. So for Dave, we're going to go to class enrollments, and we're just going to set this as the Flow Masterclass. And then we're going to go to Kaylee, and for Kaylee, she's going to enroll in the Admin Academy. So we'll just select Admin Academy here, and we'll hit save. So that's linked them together, and you can see this because if we go to class enrollments, you can see we have our records there. And if we was to edit this list view, so we just go to new list view, and we'll just call this one detailed view, and we'll just hit save. What we're going to do here is we're going to select the fields to display, and we're going to add the class, and we're also going to add the student. So if we save that, you can see that we've got who is linked to who. So we've got what classes are linked to which students. And if we go to classes and we open up the Admin Academy, we can see who's actually enrolled in the Admin Academy as well. So we can see the student. So that is how many-to-many relationships work through the use of a junction object. If you are enjoying this video and finding it useful, give it a like, leave a comment and subscribe, as I'm going to be releasing more videos over the next few weeks that are going to help you prepare for the admin exam. Now let's move on to the next objective. Explain how to create, delete and customize fields and page layouts on standard and custom objects, and know the implications of deleting fields. So for this one, you're going to need to know about fields and page layouts. And let's start with fields. One of the best things about Salesforce is how quickly and easy it is to customize, and that's especially true for fields. You've just seen how quickly we've been able to create a many-to-many relationship by creating custom objects and creating 2 new fields. But let's imagine that you're working on the lead object. So let's imagine we're working with leads, we've got Bertha Boxer open here, and we suddenly realize that we need some new fields. We're not capturing enough information. Well, what we can do here is obviously we have the details section, so we can't see what we want to see here. We want to add a new field. If we just go to setup icon over here, so the gear icon, we go to edit object. That's going to take us straight into object manager for the lead. And then we can go to fields and relationships and we can create a new field. It's important that you understand the different types of field because we've got quite a few different data types. And what we're going to do here is we're going to create a field with the data type URL. So the data type that you want to capture with it has to match the type of field it is. So if we wanted to capture a phone number, then it'd be best to use a phone data type. Same if we wanted to capture email, best to use an email data type. But we're going to be capturing a URL. So I'm going to select URL, we'll hit next, and we're actually going to capture the LinkedIn profile. So we want to capture the LinkedIn profile of our leads. So we give it a name. The field name is auto-populated as well, and then we can give it a description. So we can just put in here the leads LinkedIn profile. Perfect. And then if we just copy and paste that into help text, and we can just hit next. Now before I do that, I just want to point out this checkbox here, required. We could make this a required field, meaning that there has to be a value in this in order for the record to be saved. But we're just going to leave as it is. We'll hit next. And then on the next page, this is where we can set up field level security. So we can set which profiles should be able to see this field and which should be able to edit it. We're just going to make it visible for everyone, and we're going to allow everyone to edit it as well. And then we can hit next. And then now we can actually add that field to a page layout. So we've got our list of page layouts down here, and we're just going to add it to every single one, and we can hit save. Perfect, and now that's been added to our lead. So if we go to lead here, Bertha Boxter, we refresh that, what you'll see if we go to details is that we should have the new field there. Now, we can't see that field, and the reason for that is Salesforce might not have refreshed its cache. So if you're experiencing the same as what I'm doing here, what you need to do is just go to your profile and just change your display density there. So we're just going to change that from compact to comfy. We'll go back to details, and you'll see that we now have our new field here. So if we just edit that, so I'm just copying and pasting my LinkedIn in there, we'll hit save. You can see we've got our help text, and if we just click on that, because it's a URL field, it's going to open it up. So as you can see, creating a new field in Salesforce is literally just a couple of minutes, and it requires zero code. And once fields are created, you can easily edit them too. So if we just go back to our object manager here, and we're back to our lead, we can scroll down to the field that we created, which was LinkedIn profile there, and we can just go into edit it, and we can make whatever changes we want to it as well. You can even change the field type, but you must be well aware of the implications of doing so, because when you change a field type, then data for that field will be transformed. But depending on the data type you're changing from and to, you may lose some data. So I'd strongly recommend backing up your data before any data changes like that. Salesforce does have a great help document that runs through the considerations of changing the data type for a field, and they also have one for deleting fields, so make sure you know these for your exam. And I'm just going to hit cancel. So now let's talk about page layouts. Well, page layouts are exactly what they sound like, the layout of your page. We spoke about the Lightning App Builder in the previous video and how we can use it to customize the Lightning record page. Well, now we're going to take a look at page layouts. So we're already on the lead object, so what we're going to do is we're just going to go to page layouts, which we've got over here. We'll open up page layouts, and then what you can see here is that we actually have multiple page layouts. That's because we can use a different page layout for different profiles and record types. This can be really useful when you want to display different information for users or different record types. We are going to talk about record types shortly, but for now I just want to keep focus on page layouts. So to check what page layout is assigned to which profile, we can just use this button up here, the page layout assignment. We'll open that up and we'll get a list of all of our page layouts and the profiles that they're related to. Now we can't see any record types because we haven't created any record types. And what we can see here is that we have the system administrator, so we know we're a system administrator profile, and we can see that we're using the lead layout. So we can just select that to open it up and we can edit. And this is where we can really customize the page layout. The way that I like to think about this is that we're painting a picture. At the top we have our palette, so this is where we'll find our fields, buttons, actions, related lists and more, and then underneath is our canvas. This is where we're going to be creating our painting, so we're going to be creating our page layout, and we just take what we want from the palette and we just put it on the canvas. So before we make any changes, I want to head back to the front of Salesforce, and we're going to take a look at this lead page. In the top right, you can see that we have the actions, and when we add or remove or reorder the actions, this is where the changes will show. What I want us to do is focus on the details tab. What you can see here is the page layout, so all of the fields and how they are arranged is determined by the page layout that we're going to edit. I also want to point out the related lists on the right hand side. These two are controlled by the page layout. So let's take a look at this page. What changes could we make to improve the layout? Well, first I want to move this description field here up. I want it above the created by and last modified by because they're the system fields. I also want to add a couple of sections to make it easier to navigate around this page and to find what we want. So let's do that, and we're going to head back into the lead page here, the page layout, and we're going to make these changes. So what I want to do is I want these header sections, these headers visible on the detail page. So we're going to click the gear icon here, the spanner icon, and we'll just set this as true for detail page. So we're saying display the section header on the detail page. You can see we could customize the layout and the tab key order as well. We'll hit OK there. For the address information, we're going to do the same. So we're going to make sure we can see that on the detail page. We're also going to do the same for additional information, and we'll do it for system information as well. And now we get to our description information. Well, I'm going to pull that up, and I'm actually going to drag that and put that just below additional information. And I'm going to set that as being visible on the detail page as well. We can hit OK. Now, what about the actual fields on the page? Well, to add and remove fields, it's really easy. All we need to do is drag what we want from the palette and drop it onto the page, and it'll add it. We can remove it just by doing the exact same as well, so you can see exactly how easy it is. Now, you might have noticed the red asterisks and blue dots by some of the fields. Well, the red asterisk means that it's a required field, so it must be completed in order to save a record. It can't be empty and it can't be blank. The blue dots on the field means that it must be on the page, so you can't remove it. If we try and remove one, you'll see that we just get an error. And if we scroll down a little bit further on the page, you can see that we have the related list for the object. Again, these are completely customizable. So let's save this. And then let's go and take a look at our lead. So we're going to go back to the front of house here for the lead, and I'm just going to change the display density again just to force Salesforce to refresh. And what you'll see is that our page now has completely changed. We have the different sections, the description information has been lifted higher, and we've got everything that we could possibly want. So now let's talk about the final objective for this section. Given a scenario, determine how to create and assign page layouts, record types and business processes for custom and standard objects. Well, we've just covered page layouts, and I did mention that you can assign them based on profile and record type. But what is a record type and what are business processes. The easiest way to think about them is to imagine that you sell a product to the direct public, so to direct public customers, but you also sell it to trade customers. Now, when you sell to the direct public, you follow a different sales process as it's more of a transactional sale. They simply tell you what products they want, you give them a price, you may negotiate, and then you either close the sale as won or lost. However, when you deal with trade customers, you follow a more rigorous sales process. You may have to do the initial fact-finding meeting, then you recommend products, you provide a costing, you may negotiate, and then once everyone is happy with the final price, you may need to create and send them an invoice, they may need to raise a purchase order, get sign-off from the boss, etc, etc, and then once all that's done, you can complete the sale. There are many more steps in the trade sale than the direct public sale. It's a completely different sales process. So that's a different business process. Let me show you how we can customize the sales process so we have one for the direct public customers and one for trade customers. So we need to head back into setup. So we're just going to open up setup here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the quick find search bar over here and we're going to type in process. And what you can now see is that we have a couple of processes. We have lead process, sales process, and support process. And that's because business processes are available for marketing in the form of the lead process, for sales in the form of sales processes, and for the case object in support processes. And you can create multiple business processes depending on how you carry out your business. So in our example, we have one sales process for direct customers and one for trade customers. So let's configure one of the sales processes. We're going to open up sales processes here and we're going to create a new one. What we're going to do is we're going to call this public. At the moment, there are no existing sales processes, so we can't choose to use that as a base. We're just creating a brand new one. So we'll give it the name public, and then the description, we'll put this is for use with public customers. Perfect. And we'll just hit save. On the next screen here, we need to select the opportunity stages. So we need to tell Salesforce what opportunity stages should be included in this process. If you need to add more stages, then you just need to go into the field, this opportunity stage field, and just add them as pick list values, and then they'll appear here. When you configure the lead process, you'll be referencing the lead status field values. For the sales process, it's the opportunity stage field values. And for the support process, it's the case status field values. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to remove a couple of these. We're going to get rid of needs analysis. We'll get rid of value proposition, ID decision makers, and perception analysis as well. And we can just hit save. And now we have our public sales process. But how are we going to use this? Well, the best way to use this is to create a record type. And record types are the mechanism that hold all of this together. So if we think of our example of selling to the direct public versus selling to trade customers, we know that they require different processes. And we're going to assume that they also require different page layouts too, as they need to capture different information about the sale, depending on the type of customer. So how can we solve this? Well, this is where we would create a record type to handle it. We could have one for public customers and one that is for trade customers. And then we could specify which page layout should be used for which one, and then the sales process that should be used for each one as well. So we've already got our public sales process, but let's create another one. And this is going to be our trade sales process. So we'll put for use when selling to trade customers. And we can just hit save there. And we're going to leave all of these values in here, so all of these stage values, and we'll just hit save. And you can see that now we've got two, we've got public and we've got trade. But now we want to create the record type. So we're going to go to Object Manager, we're going to find the opportunity object, we'll open that up, and we're going to go to record types. And here we don't have any existing record types, so we need to create them. We're going to create one, which is going to be for public. So for the record type label, we're going to call this public. The record type name is fine as it is, and then we can select the sales process, and we're going to select public. Description, we'll just put for use with public sales. Next, we can set which profiles can use this record type, and if it should be the default for any profile. This is really useful when you have teams dedicated to only working with one type of sale. Now we want to make it available for everyone, and it's automatically going to be the default one for every profile as it's the only record type that we have. So let's hit next. And now we can set the page layout, and we can just use whichever page layout we want. So for this one, we can just say opportunity layout for the public, and then we can hit save. And that is our public one created. You can see here that we can actually edit some pick lists, so you can do that as well, but we're going to create another record type. So let's create the trade one. So we're going to go to new record type, and then for the record type label, we're going to call this trade. The type name is absolutely fine, so record type name is trade. We could even clone an existing record type if we wanted. So if we wanted to clone the public record type, we could do that, but we're creating a new one, trade. We want to select the trade sales process because that's the process we want them to use, and we're going to put for use with trade sales. And then we're going to make it as active. For this record type, we're going to make it available for everyone, and we're not going to make it the default one. And we can just hit next again. For the page layout, we could select whatever page layout we wanted. We're just going to leave it as the opportunity layout as well, and we'll hit save. So now let's go back to the front end of Salesforce and make sure this has worked. So here we are. We're going to create a new opportunity. You can see that we can now select the record type. So we're going to select public, and we're just going to give it the opportunity name as public. We need to make sure we put a close date in there, and we also need to put the stage. But what you'll notice here is we have a shortened size of stage. We have a shortened list because we're not including the stages that are available for trade because we have a different sales process. So we'll just put that as prospecting. And what you can see here is that we actually have the page layout, and we have what we want. We have the stages, so we have the sales process here at the top. We have prospecting, qualification, proposal price quote, negotiation review, and closed. But what about if we create another opportunity? So let's create one for trade. So we're going to go to opportunity name. We'll type in trade. The close date, we'll just put in here. You can see we have more options here, so we have more values. We'll hit save, and then you can see at the top, we have all of the stages for the opportunity. So that covers record types as well. The Object Manager and Lightning App Builder section is quite a dense section, and it's one that you really need to know. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you do, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be releasing more videos like this in helping you become Salesforce certified.